What's up, everybody? Josh RV Nerd of Bish's RV here in Las Vegas, getting a look at what's new for the 2025 Jaycos. And today, specifically, we're going to be going through their motorized stuff. We're going to get a quick look at a lot of different motorhomes very, very fast. I'm going to chapter mark the video so you can hop back around to the model that maybe most interests you. If you want to take a second or third or fourth look is also okay, I've found. But we're just going to get a quick flyby, some basic updates. I'm going to throw a voiceover on here at some point so you can get some extra information. And I need to hear from you which of these things you want to try to see in more detail, which is especially important for me on the motorized stuff, just because of the areas that I tend to haunt regularly. I don't get the opportunity to get my hands on as many motorhomes as I do towables. So if there is one you want to see, I will absolutely make sure I focus on that on a hit list first and foremost. And if you appreciate how I fly multiple time zones to get you the footage like this today, make sure you like our video and hit that subscribe button. Let's get going, because I'm going to be pounding the pavement for this one, for real. Let's get your motor running. Ha! Motorhome joke. Classic. And while you're watching these guys freak out like they just got caught doing something illegal by the FBI, I want to mention the reason I suddenly sound very, very different is the only time I have to complete this video, I'm doing a voiceover in a hotel room with the blanket over my head to act as like a sound isolation chamber, because that's the length I'm willing to go to get you folks footage. We're going to start at these smallest B vans. We're going to go up to C's and then eventually to the Jayco A lineup. The Comet series here is their smallest, simplest, lightest weight, least expensive little series. This it rides on a Ram ProMaster chassis, but there's a couple different ones used in the Jayco lineup. This is a 1500 series, and it's a one of the cool. By the way, if you get Canadian compliances, it actually does jump up to a 2500 because they have a little bit different restrictions on certain things. But one of the really interesting things on this here, it is small, it is simple. It's the kind of rig that like you're just driving a van. You know, you're not driving a big motorhome. Driving it down the road, super easy. The ProMaster chassis leaves plenty of legroom. If you just need to pull into a parking lot at a gas station or something, like it's not something that you really have to plan months and months ahead to get this sucker moved around. Now, it does have a awning that comes kind of over the top there. I don't know if you noticed that hanging over the side. It does have a small amount of solar to help keep the batteries tended up. Not to mention, while you're driving, that also charges the house battery. So you do have a couple ways of keeping that juiced up. Now, when we move into the Swift series, this also is a Ram ProMaster chassis, but this is a 3500 window van chassis. It's not a 1500 chassis or a 25. So everything on this one just a little bit larger, a little bit heavier, you know, GCW, things like that. They both, interestingly, have a 3.6 liter V6 power plant with 276 horsepower and 250 foot-pounds of torque, and a 9-speed automatic transmission. For anyone born after 1980, that's just basically the base transmission that everything seems to have. Now, when you move up into this one, this is a new model, and this is kind of a Murphy bed model. What I like about it, if you want to haul like e-bikes or dog kennels or kayaks or something like that, you don't necessarily need to have a big giant monster machine kind of rig to do all that, because you've got a sort of Murphy bed situation there. It's not a power bed kind of arrangement. It is just a normal traditional Murphy bed in that the bed just folds down. It is a Wombo Combo wet bath. It does have a little miniature dining arrangement right there, but keep in mind, those chairs, they can actually spin around so that if you want those to face toward the living area to kind of face toward the dining, you can sort of merge everything together a little bit, which is something that I always enjoy doing, especially in these little rigs. It really makes a smaller space look and feel a little bit bigger. Now, when we move up into the Solstice series, this we pick up a Ford Transit chassis. It's a 350 HD, and it is all-wheel drive, which is actually really nice. For a power plant on this one, you swap over to a 3.5 EcoBoost V6. That's 310 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds of torque. And one of the things I like about it is when you hit the accelerator, it just goes. Like the Mercedes things have a turbo that's cool, but there is a little bit of a delay on it in case you want to like really crawl real slow to back into a site. If you're getting on an on-ramp or something, or if you have to suddenly like dart across traffic because you misread the tea leaves or something like that, you hit the accelerator, this thing moves. Now, it's still a very traditional van style layout. It's actually one of the most traditional van style layouts, but they start to bring some of those Euro touches, like the really highly finished cabinet doors and like the aircraft latch style hardware. That's also a power rear bed, and there is kind of a conversion plank that goes down between those two benches. So if you want to convert that into one almost giant king bed, you can do that on this one. A little bit heavier trailer tow package on this one also is something. And a 360-degree camera setup with split view front rears. That's also a really cool thing. But if you take all that and you kind of go to the extreme with it and you want to go where, you know, people have never boldly camped before, that's where the terrain comes in. You may have noticed that we've jumped over to a Mercedes Sprinter chassis. It's a 2500 all-wheel drive, 144-inch wheelbase, and this thing has more solar, built-on onboard lithium batteries, and there's no way that I can really give this rig all its proper credit that it's due in just a quick little flyby like this. One of the good things is when this model first came out, I got a very detailed, involved video of it. So if you want to see things like how that power bunk actually comes up and down, you know, it's a power version of a Murphy bed, if you will, but they've improved it and simplified it since that video came out, where you no longer have to like wrestle extra cushions. It's literally just bed up, bed down, and you're done, son. Everything on that a little bit simpler, but things like lane keep assist, all sorts of active driver assist, where if you're, I don't know, if you're looking down messing with your GPS and somebody slows down in front of you, the vehicle will slow itself down so you don't smash into them. Again, the front seats can spin around so that if you want to kind of use those, the second row seating right there for a little more seating area, like a dining setup, you can. Even including things like those, the extra shelves in the combo bath, so that if you want to be able to maximize almost like pantry storage space, you have the ability to do that there. It also includes a floating electric single burner, basically induction cooktop job. Now the Granite Ridge series here, this is something that came out last year, and I really liked it a lot more than I expected. Granite Ridge is actually a classic Jayco motorhome name that's coming back, and it's sort of like if you took the terrain a little bit further, but you also still wanted to keep all your comfy tech stuff. We're looking at one with a lot of options, like that full-on little outside mini kitchen grill, but it has a full-on triple access junk in the trunk system on the back over here. Plus, you know, onboard water filtration, simple, easy, no slides, heavier sidewall integrity tires. You can option on a Starlink unit built right from the factory. You've got cargo bike rack up top. There's some solar capacity up top right there. Generator on board one of these. Terrain also has a generator, by the way. So if you want to go in the middle of nowhere, but you still want to stay connected, need to stay connected maybe for work, that's where this one comes in here. It also has a new catalytic converter theft deterrent. It's really actually kind of a sad statement that the RV industry's had to go to that, but a lot of these newer Jaycos, they have basically a big old shielded box around the catalytic converter to make trying to, you know, cut one of those off a whole lot harder. And that is something that we've actually had happen even in our parking lot at our dealerships, even at my home store in Coldwater, Michigan. It's a bummer that that's the world we live in, but hey, there we are. Now, this is a slightly different twist on the Granite Ridge that they came out with last year. It still has the twin to king vertible bed system in the back with storage below and above. But what this one does different is a little bit different dining setup. The overall layout hasn't changed. One of the interesting things on this one, you may have noticed the optional TV like up in the living room area. You actually can move that between the kitchen and the bedroom however you please. Now, when we get over to the Redhawk SE series, you actually have a choice of chassis. You can get either the Ford E350 chassis with the 7.3 liter V8 Godzilla engine, or you can actually get a Chevy 4500 chassis with the 6.6 Vortec V8. Last I knew, the Chevy chassis ran a little bit less money. It's interesting because the Chevy chassis actually now does have more horsepower and torque. For some reason, Ford seemed to have slowly stepped down, derated the Ford engine power plant on these, but This is a very similar layout to what we just saw, but weirdly, I think I actually personally like this more. Now, I don't tend to go way off grid in the mud and the blood. I'm a park pavement princess. I camp with full hookups. This is simple, easy, straightforward, and it is vastly less money as compared to a Granite Ridge for a very similar effective layout. Does it have all the equipment? Is it built the same? Absolutely not. But for a casual person like me, it's everything I need and maybe just a little bit more. My wife would love the separate bed arrangement. I would definitely prefer to put it into king mode and kind of be able to snuggle up, but I'm a little bit smothery and sometimes she likes her space. I like cuddle compliance and she likes population control, but hey, that's how it goes. Now, since this is a traditional C that we've moved into, this is the base of Jayco C's, you do regain that normal forward bunk. Now, when we go from Redhawk SE up into full Redhawk, like we're looking at right here, some things change. Like the slide out awnings start to become standard. We go to an E450 chassis and no Chevy alternative, essentially. We start picking up a little bit of standard factory solar to help keep the batteries tended up. You'll start to have, when you get into your Class C's, generators become pretty much a standard thing. But when you get into these E450s, you start to pick up some of the best in class tow ratings, where most things in this class have a 5,000 pound tow rating. This has a true 7,500 with 750 pound tongue capacity. What some other manufacturers will do is they'll say that if you use a weight distribution hitch, you can go up to 7,500 pounds. But Jayco doesn't make you do that. They actually have a more heavy-duty upfit involved on their whole chassis situation. Now, things like the farmhouse decor, bigger microwaves, the 12-volt refrigerators, those things that I think people have been wanting to see in the motorhomes for the last couple years, they are finally all here. And I think it's really cool. We're maintaining a traditional oven and a big microwave. Like, you get a full-on traditional kitchen complement of things right here. And once again, they're going to kind of make versions of this floor plan in a couple different series. We'll get another look at this layout in the Melbourne model in a little bit here. Again, I kind of prefer the Redhawk version because I think it gives us a little bit more and a little bit better storage that the Melbourne does not. Plus, you maintain that full overhead cab. Speaking of which, when we get into the Melbourne series, or Melbourne, as they actually, say it in Australia, we move from a Ford chassis to a Mercedes 3500. Now, I mentioned before, when you hit the accelerator, there is a delay before the turbo kicks in. Once it kicks in, you get up and go. And it's very, very brief. But sometimes when you're driving, like, that delay just sort of jars me a little bit. So that's not always my favorite thing. But the amount of leg room in this for a taller person like me, I kind of feel a little tight and a little cramped in the E-Series chassis on the Redhawk and the Redhawk SE. If I was going to go driving long distance, this thing feels a lot more comfortable to me if I'm going to be behind the wheel a lot. Now, what's cool is I have a wife who's actually very good behind the wheel handling big stuff. She doesn't get really intimidated by that. So maybe I'd stick with the Redhawk and have her do more of the driving while I do the navigating. It just depends. We tend to switch off depending on the trips. You don't care. I don't know why I'm talking about this. And sometimes it just comes down to look. Some series, they have a little lighter decor, some a little bit darker. And again, let me know in the comments section which of these you want to learn a little bit more about, and I will try to go put them on a hit list and get some more detailed walkthroughs of these things. Now, whereas the Redhawk Class C's, those were all gas engines. This Mercedes right here, it's actually on a twin turbo diesel engine with 211 horsepower, electronic fuel injection, 332 foot-pounds of torque, 9-speed transmission also, by the way, which is really nice for, when you need those low gears. You ever... Apparently I failed to close the microwave right there and give myself a nice thumbs up. I forgot about that. But when you're, those on-ramps where, like, you get on the highway, but you're also going uphill, having the extra gearing in the lower ranges to give you that power is nice. Now, it's also kind of surprising that you do still have the ability to have that overhead cab, or the overhead bed above the cab area in this. Now, those seats, again, can spin around, and that's one of the cool things about this, is that you're gaining sort of the benefit of a Class A motorhome on a much smaller coach. Now, going from Redhawk and Melbourne up to Greyhawk. This is the direct big brother from the Redhawk series. What's almost double jarring is that we're also looking at one in a full paint package, because Greyhawk does have full paint, which is something that we haven't really seen so far in their lineup. This model has always kind of stood out to me. It's one I've always really liked. It's one that I think people are unsure about until they kind of get in and see it, because what's so cool about this one is that it gives us like the power theater recliners. Jayco actually builds in like car seat anchors into their dinettes. They build so that all of their seatbelt ratings exceed federal mandated requirements by over 10% minimum. And that's something a lot of manufacturers don't do. So they include seatbelts where they're not required to, and they overbuild for them so that they can hold more weight than they're required for. It's just those extra Jayco doing Jayco things they put into all these. Now, Greyhawk, like Redhawk, you are on an E450 chassis, so it's a little tight for long-legged goofballs like me. But this floor plan has, I think, fantastic, near perfect entertainment setup. You got that awesome electric space heat and Tootsie Toaster down there. Easy view, direct viewing smart TV. Notice how it's not mounted all the way up against the ceiling. And again, you're keeping a full complement of kitchen appliances right here. Now, last I knew, you had a choice between a sleeper sofa or a hide-a-bed, but remember, in a Class C, you always have that overhead cab available to you as well. One of the more interesting things on this one is it is kind of a split walk-through bath. It's just the thing they needed to do. But the magic of this floor plan is that you have a bed slide off the back of it, and you can see how it's also got the dual air capacity. So because the bed slide's on the back, when the slide's retracted, the RV drives 2 foot shorter than it camps. And that is one of those things. It may be the make or break difference between getting it up and down a driveway, getting it out of state or national parks, any of those things. Now, for the longest time, you went from Greyhawk all the way up to a Seneca Super C. And the Greyhawk XL series came out last year as the missing link between those two. We are still on a Ford chassis, but it's the F550 4x4 chassis with the 6.7 Power Stroke V8 turbo diesel. You are gaining bigger, bulkier, heavy chassis, suspension, engine, horsepower, torque, all kinds of things. 10-speed automatic transmission. Like you saw, that's just the front suspension right there. This also has heavier duty anti-sway bars. The whole Greyhawk series has that. Jayco calls it J-Ride. All of their motorhomes have some kind of ride and enhancement platform. One of the other cool things on this is that it's rated to tow more weight. So it used to be you had to go from Greyhawk to Seneca to get a bigger towing capacity, and that's where Greyhawk XL comes in. Now, with the full paint package that you see on there, it looks really, really slick on the outside. It is a little more subdued and undertoned inside, but I think it's a kind of RV where it looks good when you're heading down the highway, but it also has that calm, relaxing sort of experience once you get to your destination. But it still has all those traditional Class C things like the overhead cab bed sleeping area that you could always use as cargo if you were so inclined. This thing, I will say also, with that power plant, despite its size and weight, when you need to move, it goes pretty good. Now, one of the other benefits of going with a turbo diesel like this is that when you're going up and down inclines, it just doesn't lose its horsepower. Like some of the gas power plants, you could lose up to 50% of your horsepower if you're going up and down mountains and altitudes when your oxygen gets thinner in the air. And the turbo diesels won't have that. Now, you'll be burning fuel, but you can maintain power. So if you're going to live in an area with hills and mountains, there is no substitute for that diesel power. And this one that we're looking at here, you may have noticed, is a bunk model. They make a couple different Greyhawk XLs right now. So this is something where you actually could have like a family of 4 to 6 in this thing, and everybody have their own comfort space. Now from here, we're going to move into the new Seneca family of RVs. There's actually 3 different segments of Seneca. We're going to get to see 2 today. I suppose you could say this is where it begins with the Seneca XT. It kind of picks up where Greyhawk XL leaves off. It rides on a couple different chassis. One is the F550 and the others will run on the F600, the smallest one on the 550 chassis. They want to make sure each of these has a reasonable cargo carry capacity. What's really interesting is on the outside, if you ignore the front end of this thing, the outside of this sucker looks like a diesel pusher. Then again, you've got that 6.7 liter Power Stroke V8 turbo diesel that can, I mean, it'll go just about anywhere you want. It's got power for days on that thing. And again, if you're going to go up and down like mountains, if you're going to go, through the Rockies or something like that, or the Appalachians, it is really nice to have that extra power right there. The interesting thing on this one, they've dressed it up a little bit more from last year. Last year, these Seneca XTs looked super cool on the outside with that sort of full body paint topographical map looking thing, which I'm pretty sure is where Bob Ross hit all the dead bodies that he sniped when he was a military sniper, which is a real thing, by the way, if you did notice. If Bob Ross, one of America's most beloved little painters, taught us about happy little trees. He was a decorated military sniper. Kind of funny. But regardless of that, the inside of these used to look like a log cabin and not really a fancy one. And it's not like they spent a ton of money on just glitz and glitter, but they have just done some smart decor things that just really kind of dress it up and press it up a little bit. Again, if you're looking for a little bit more than what a common Class C can offer you, this is an interesting stepping stone before you get into like a big mega Super C like the Seneca Prestige that we're going to see in just a few seconds here, or a diesel pusher, with still getting some of those nice things like washer dryers included in the RV. Now we're going to skip over the traditional Seneca and go all the way up to the Seneca Prestige right here. And this is like a rig that asks like, diesel pusher, what? Like, there's benefits to diesel pusher, sure, but they're not for everybody. Where I could see this working really well are for people who, if you want to tow something bigger, something heavier, like, where I'm from, there's a big horse culture. And there's a lot of people who like to do weekend, horse events like speed events and things like that. But some people have really nice trailers. They spend a lot of money on their horses, and they want a really nice place to kick back and relax when they get there. And that's this interesting little niche where the Seneca Prestige series comes in right here. It's giving you those like space age, almost diesel pusher comforts in something that just looks and feels a little more traditional to drive. Now, here's the funny thing. I've done a lot of test drives in my career on all kinds of different motorhomes. I have personally never experienced something that I really feel has better ride and handling than something in the Seneca family. The suspension packages, the anti-sway packages, everything that goes in these. It's beautiful sitting in your driveway. It's super comfortable at the destination. But it's just as much fun really to get there as it is to be there in one of these. Now, when you get into the Prestige series, you get stuff like separate washers and dryers and not even combos. Like everything goes above and beyond. Like this has a 12,000 pound rear hitch on the back of it. Everything here gets a little bit bigger, a little bit better. You've got that Cummins 6.7 liter diesel, 360 horsepower, 800 foot-pounds of torque on that. And you're picking up that Allison transmission, which when you're going up and down inclines, that thing is so fantastic. The way that you can engine brake when you're going down steep hills like that, that's something that a gas motorhome just can't match. Speaking of gas motorhomes, the Alante series is Jayco's entry into the Class A market. Here's a really funny thing. It's an F53 chassis, which isn't terribly dissimilar from what some Class Cs are made on, although slightly different. It could almost be argued, though, that the Greyhawk Class C is equal to, if not in some ways above the trim package of an Alante. But the fact is that front power bed, that giant front windshield, the way that the seats spin around. Yes, the Greyhawk seats can spin around to face the living room, but not like this. Like you're always down on a level in a bucket, whereas this one, everything is just all right there. And if you're going to go on a long distance road trip, absolutely nothing gives you better views than that literal 10-foot sized corner to corner panoramic windshield. It's 120 inch. I believe it's actually imported from Italy, that thing. Again, all smart TVs. You're noticing a lot of smart power televators. I'm actually starting to see the towable RV industry catch on to that a little bit. But you're getting things like a no knee knocker dining arrangement. Everything is just a little more plush, a little more comfortable here. But the funny thing is, again, this is where Jayco's Class A's start. Everything can go above and beyond here. One of the funny things, though, is that your Jayco Class C's, Redhawk and Greyhawk, actually have a 7,500 pound tow rating, whereas the Alante motorhomes have a 5,000 pound tow rating. And again, it has to do with how the hitch is affixed to the chassis. There are some differences on the E450 chassis versus the F53 chassis that allow for that. But again, you've got that 7.3 liter V8 engine up here. Now, we talked about that Allison transmission. One of the really interesting things on the Ford setup is they actually have a very similar engine braking function that a lot of people are just not aware of. Basically, without diving too deep into it, when you are in tow haul mode, as Ford likes to call it, when you tap your brake, it actually does have a downshift function, which has a little bit of an engine brake function included with it as well. It's a very painfully under-documented cool thing the Ford stuff does that very few people really seem to know about. Now, when we move from Alante to this Precept we're looking at, it's pretty obvious that everything can step up a notch. Now, we're looking at an optional paint package, but things like your generator step up a notch. That's a 6,000 NPS inverter generator, capable of providing full function to the RV wherever you happen to be. Things like slide awnings will be standard when you get up to this point. I love the mirror-like finish on that. Precept will start to pick up things like those outdoor smart TV entertainment systems. And I'm loving how the industry is starting to flirt more with the idea of these full-on super slides, super sofas. But again, Jayco doing Jayco things. They include extra seatbelt spaces where they don't have to, and I really commend them for that. And if you look on the right side of that dinette back, those little black hooks, again, that's where they have things like car seat hooks that a lot of motorhomes don't offer whatsoever. So they take on a lot of extra build liability when they do that because they're putting more effort under the skin than a lot of people realize necessarily is there. Now, again, anytime you're in a Jayco Class A motorhome, you've got that 120-inch panoramic windshield. When you start to pick up things like a power front privacy shade on these, which is really, really nice. And again, the J-Ride package steps up a little bit on these. While I won't say a Precept rides and handles like a Seneca, it definitely rides and handles better than an Alante or a Redhawk. Now, having the ability to include washer dryers in a Precept like this is not something that we used to see a lot of, but they are really listening to how people are using these and how they want to camp in them, and they're definitely building and outfitting them accordingly. This, to me, is like an amazing floor plan where if you're going to do a little snowbird sunbirding, you want to spend some extended time at a destination in comfort, but you also don't want to necessarily have to go neck deep into debt on diesel pusher money. That's kind of where this one comes in right here, where maybe it still kind of work, but you can do a little bit of remote working and have an extended time out. That's kind of where this one comes in for me. But from there, we end up at the last member of the Jayco motorhome family, the Precept Prestige, which goes up another level. And this is where you start to get some diesel pusher touches on a Class A gas motorhome, because Jayco is no longer making a diesel Class A motorhome. You start to get things like the better baggage doors, the better latch hardware, the gas struts to hold everything open on a windy day. Your woodwork steps up yet another notch. Everything becomes a little bit nicer, a little bit grander here. Even though they have the same chassis, the same power plant and everything here steps up a little bit further. The noise cancellation package that they have in these is also fantastic. That's one of the things I really respect Jayco for paying attention to, is the focus on getting there, being as comfortable as being there in their motorhomes. That's a really big package that they really put out there. Now, up here in Precept Prestige, the smart command system you get, it's actually called Firefly, is the name of the system. It is like a total coach control system, and one of my favorite things about it, it's the dumbest thing, but I love it. Like, it's got auto gen start. That's got what I call the puppy saver feature, where it's like, if it gets too hot in the RV, the generator can automatically kick on to activate the air conditioner, so you don't end up like heat stroking a dog to death. That's amazing. But as dumb as it sounds, my favorite part of that whole system is just the one touch all lights on button. So many RVs, when it says like all lights on and you tap it, it's maybe the ceiling lights. This thing, you touch the button and all of the lights come on, and there's so many dimmer functions and just extra little details like that go into it that I think are so often overlooked among so many other things. You may also notice how they're like fully trimming out windows on these, and everything is just a nicer touch. The Coney shocks, the Bilstein steering stabilizers that they have on these, it is something again that you don't feel upper body exhausted when you get to your destination, because if you've never driven a motorhome, you need to come see some of our people and take a test drive, because driving is believing. So once again, let me know what you've seen, what you'd like to see more of, and I'll do my best to fulfill it to the best of my ability through the year. Now, I have done a similar video to this. If you haven't seen them, you want to see what's going on at Jayco's fifth wheels or travel trailers, I've got fast flyby sneak peeks of a bunch of those too for you, so you can take a look at them anytime you would like. And if you appreciate what we're doing, hit that subscribe button, because through the year, I'm gonna have a bunch of good stuff coming for you by the looks of it. So when you're ready, we're ready, but until then, thanks for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.